What's up guys, my name is Ben and I will be talking about the Uyghur human rights crisis in Xinjiang, China. I wanted to do this topic because I believe that all humans deserve basic human rights and what's happening there is an injustice. Imagine if we lived in a world where we all respected and loved one another. A world where religion, race, borders, and anything you can think of can't separate us and marginalize others. It is such a perfect thing to dream of considering the dark past this world has experienced. Do you remember the Holocaust? Jewish people were persecuted just for the sake that they were Jewish, and millions of them were eventually killed because they were seen as inferior. The Jewish people were forced to wear the Star of David so that their segregation and persecution would be easier, and eventually they were transported to concentration camps where they were tortured, experimented on, and ultimately killed. But it's a good thing that such an atrocity is in the past, right? One can only wish. History once again is repeating itself in Xinjiang, China. First, let me ask you a question. Raise your hand if any of you in the audience are Muslim or have friends and family that are Muslim. Chances are, if you guys lived in Xinjiang, China, you would be in big trouble. According to the United States Department of Defense, at least 1 million, but it's likely that close to 3 million people were detained in concentration camps by the Chinese government. That is more than double the population of Hawaii. Essentially, there is no Uyghur family without at least one family member detained. Ever since 2014, Uyghur Muslims and other ethnic minorities are being held in re-education camps because of their religion. But in actuality, these are detention camps, and Uyghurs are being interned without trial or any charges levied against them. This could only be possible due to the power that the Chinese Communist Party has. Since a man named Cheng Chang-wo took charge of the Xinjiang region, over 90,000 police officers were recruited that year, and that province became one of the most heavily policed provinces of the world. Due to the increase in manpower, the detention of these locals were largely accelerated. Of these millions of interned Uyghurs, scientists such as Tashpolat Tiyeb were also targeted. He was victimized because he was one of 88 scholars who had deeply poisoned the minds of students by approving textbooks that had too much content from Uyghur sources. This is terrifying because not only are the Chinese people torturing, killing, and experimenting on the Uyghur people, they are also trying to extinguish every facet of their culture and identity off the face of this earth. By losing the scholars, the Chinese people are halting the progression of the Uyghurs as a people, but it doesn't stop there. The Uyghurs in these internment camps were subject to many types of torture. They were forced to eat pork and drink alcohol, which is against their religion, handcuffed and bound for hours, forced to have abortions, forced to be sterilized, they were raped, etc. And sources also say that the children were experimented on as well. These instances of torture are the only ones that we are aware of. Ever since the internment camps existed in 2014, the Chinese government has denied its existence until it was legalized in October 2018. The Chinese government has always tried to hide information throughout this entire ordeal, so there could be much more gruesome and horrifying things happening that we can't even imagine. According to UHRP.org, over 100 mosques were either damaged or destroyed by the Chinese government. Muslims believe mosques to be God's home and is essentially the place where they can be closest to God and with others in their community. So without a mosque to go to, Muslims truly do not have a home. As a person that always tries to learn from my mistakes, I hope that we all can try to do the same. Although the thought of a perfect world may be impossible to attain, I believe we can take smaller steps in order to strive for it. If you feel compelled to help, please visit uhrp.org so that we can be one step closer to having our perfect world. Thank you guys for listening.